Most truth is not floating on the surface. What we see in human behavior is rarely the full story. People act, speak, react, and choose in ways that seem obvious, but underneath every visible action, there is usually a hidden structure, a motive, a fear, a need, a pattern. Behavioral psychology is not simply the study of what people do. It is a study of why reality looks the way it does through human decisions. Because the world is not only shaped by facts, it is shaped by interpretation. Two people can witness the same event and walk away with completely different conclusions, not because the event changed, but because their minds filtered it differently. This is why behavioral psychology feels less like a textbook and more like investigation. It is a way of pulling threads, a way of tracing outcomes backward, a way of asking, what is really happening here? When someone suddenly becomes distant, is it indifference or is it self-protection? When a person insists on control, is it confidence or is it anxiety disguised as strength? When someone reacts too strongly to something small, what invisible history is being touched? Most human behavior is not random. It is patterned, and those patterns often reveal more truth than words ever could. The surface is what people show. The deeper layer is what they cannot easily admit, sometimes even to themselves. Behavioral psychology teaches us that people are rarely moved by logic alone. They are moved by emotional memory, by social pressure, by survival instincts that evolved long before modern life existed. A person may say they made a choice freely, but the choice was often shaped by forces they barely noticed. The desire to belong, the fear of rejection, the need to feel significant, the discomfort of uncertainty. In everyday life, we tend to explain behavior with simple stories. He did that because he is selfish. She reacted that way because she is sensitive. But psychology invites a more careful lens. It asks us to slow down and examine what is beneath the label. Because labels are shortcuts, patterns are explanations, and truth requires patience. Think of how quickly people judge. A stranger cuts in line, and immediately the mind forms a conclusion: rude, careless, disrespectful. But behavioral psychology reminds us that what we see is only the final frame of a longer film. We do not know what came before. Stress, exhaustion, panic, habit, cultural difference, personal crisis. This does not excuse behavior, but it reveals complexity, and complexity is where truth lives. To understand behavior is to understand that people are constantly negotiating invisible battles. They are balancing needs they cannot fully satisfy. They are managing identities they must protect. They are responding not only to the present moment, but to accumulated experiences. This is why behavioral psychology becomes a form of social intelligence, not manipulation, but perception. The ability to notice what is unsaid, the ability to see what is implied, the ability to detect emotional logic behind rational language. In many situations, the truth of an event is not found in the loudest statement, but in the smallest deviation, a hesitation, a contradiction, a shift in tone, a pattern repeated over time. Behavioral psychology trains attention toward these signals because human beings communicate in layers. Words are one layer, actions are another, and inconsistencies between the two often reveal the deepest truth. For example, someone may repeatedly claim they do not care, yet their behavior shows constant monitoring, constant checking, constant emotional response. That gap is meaningful. Or someone may appear calm, yet their choices reveal avoidance, retreat, and subtle fear. The mind is always expressing itself, even when the mouth is silent. This is why the study of behavior is the study of hidden truth. It is also why so many conflicts remain unresolved. People argue about the surface while ignoring the underlying need. They fight about details while the real issue is insecurity. They debate facts while emotional reality is fear of loss. Behavioral psychology helps uncover the real conversation beneath the conversation. And once you see that, everything changes. You begin to understand that many events are not isolated. They are expressions of deeper systems. A workplace conflict may not be about performance, but about status. A relationship tension may not be about words, but about safety. A sudden decision may not be about opportunity, but about escaping discomfort. Behavioral psychology shows us that humans are not purely rational actors. They are meaning-making creatures. They assign significance to objects, routines, symbols, and gestures. They interpret the world through emotional frameworks. This is why the truth of an event is often psychological before it is factual. The fact is what happened. The psychology is what it meant. And meaning is what drives behavior. Consider how people react when something familiar is threatened. The reaction is rarely proportional to the object itself. It is proportional to what the object represents. Control, identity, comfort, belonging. The mind defends symbols more fiercely than reality. That is why small changes can provoke large resistance. Not because the change is large, but because the emotional attachment is. Behavioral psychology reveals that what people protect is often not the thing, but the feeling the thing provided. And this is why truth is difficult. Because truth is rarely just information. It is emotional exposure. To admit the real reason behind an action is to admit vulnerability. So people create narratives. They justify. They rationalize. They rewrite their motives into something more acceptable. Behavioral psychology helps us see through these narratives, not with cynicism, but with clarity. It teaches that behavior is often the most honest confession. People may lie with words, but patterns are harder to fake. The way someone repeatedly chooses, avoids, reacts, withdraws, or pursues tells a deeper story than any explanation. This is why behavioral psychology is powerful. It is not about judging people. It is about reading reality accurately. It is about seeing what is actually happening rather than what is being performed. And in a world full of appearances, this skill becomes rare. The truth is not always visible. It must be uncovered. Like a detective, you do not accept the first explanation. You look for the structure beneath the surface. You ask what pressure created this reaction, what fears shaped this choice, what desire is being disguised, and slowly the event becomes clearer, not because the world changed, but because your perception deepened. Behavioral psychology gives us that deeper perception. It is the art of seeing what most people miss. The hidden logic behind human life. The quiet truth beneath everyday actions. And once you learn to see it, you realize reality is not only what happens. Reality is what the human mind makes happen.